Dummy Switch Pod. The boys are back.
Yes, sir. Yes,
How are you, Chris?
sir. Kodas. Hey, man. Look, I would be a very, very sad person if I were happy, I mean, after this weekend. I'm good, dog. How are you doing, bro?
Good myself, good myself. The Dan Carters of podcasting here to give you our opinions, our flagrant takes, our celebratory takes as well.
hmm
What a result,
Oh,
what a
yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. 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 That's all I can say is wow, you know?
Yeah, the rugby championship back up for grabs. In the early stages, it looked like we had fumbled,
Mm,
but now we're in prime position. We get 2 wins, and it looks like we can
mm.
get that trophy. I mean, I'm not expecting either of the teams, Australia or New Zealand, to win two in a row. So, but I would expect us to.
Yeah, I would expect us to, especially after this past weekend. Um, the bar has been returned to where it's supposed to be. I would say, and from here on, you know, you can't accept anything other than two wins.
Yep.
To finish off the rugby championship.
But before we go any deeper, church announcements. Obviously, you can find us here, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the socials. And yeah, there's
Mm,
no real news. Uh, got a
yeah,
week break of internationals. I think only thing to really ponder at this stage is Fassi. He looked injured in the game,
yeah,
so you would expect that they
Ash,
bring someone in soon. From my side,
yeah.
a Q and Horn would be welcomed. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
and
I mean, he's been there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I can't. I tend to agree with you there, eh? Because I mean, who else?
who else is Willie LaRue? But I mean, the fan base is divided on that.
Look,
In terms of,
look,
I mean,
Villarreal.
not in terms of bringing someone in, but in terms of,
Yeah, who will start? Yeah, but hey, look, yeah, we divided on that one, and
yeah,
look, the guy's done the job. Before he's earned his stripes, and it's okay, man. Sometimes you just you let the horse go to pasture. You know what I mean? Just to it happens,
yeah,
but I think we'll see because maybe there's still some value that he brings to the box. Just
yeah.
so yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's going to come in there because definitely the next guy that comes in, it's got to be somebody that's also earmarked to be in contention for 27 and beyond. I suppose
Yeah.
based on form, but yeah, we'll get into that next week.
Yeah,
Right
I
now,
mean,
mm,
you're talking
mm,
about putting players out to pasture, and I think that was the theme of this week in that it was a new look backline, and it's kind of like new center pairing, the fly half
yeah.
that's been touted as the guy that will take us forward, and we saw the
Yes.
results. I mean,
The fly
um,
half, there's not one unwanted. The stone that the builders refused as well was in there.
surprisingly early, and I mean, like I mentioned last week, it's normally Pollard that sits on the bench as the insurance policy for Sacha, but
Yeah.
this time it was Lubbock. And yeah, the backline
Mm,
that it was a new look backline, and then it was a new look backline again and again due to all the injuries
yes.
and the guys going
Yeah.
off there. Uh,
And
with
remember, I said, quarters, that anything can happen with those injuries, and
yeah,
it, and we saw as much, and you have to appreciate the versatility that we have with the players that we have, you know,
yeah, yeah,
because in previous years, if we're in that situation with those sort of injuries, you'd be scrambling. It'd be hard to see, who's going to slot in immediately, do the job, and
yeah.
perform at that same level. And this weekend, yeah, definitely backs against the wall. Of course, people are unhappy, points to prove, and they delivered.
Yeah, at the end, Willemse said it was for Bevan Fontaine who sadly passed away this past weekend. Also for
Mhm.
Rassi, he had been under fire, and for the group
Yeah.
as well that they had been under pressure. But I feel like it's rightly so. He was
Yes.
under pressure, rightly so. They were under
Yes.
pressure, rightly so. And then look at what
Yes.
comes of it when you hold each other accountable.
Thank you. You know, and I mean, at the end of the day, let's remember we must always go back to even in the early days, you know, where it all began. Where
Yeah,
it all began. Where he said, where even the coach, where Rassi even said he wants the people to be talking about the Springboks, and that's what it is because now you got us talking about you guys, and now you've got us wanting you guys to do better, and we holding you accountable, we're asking the questions, and more often than not they're giving us answers, and
yeah,
this weekend was one of those weekends where we did get answers. Although at the same time, with the answers that we got this weekend, it makes the Eden Park game even more irritating because like we said last week is that we should have won that game.
and this is what I said last week was that if all remains equal
Mm, mm.
and we just take those chances and
Yes.
the backline that was expected to be exciting is as exciting as we expected them to be, then we'll
Yeah.
win the game. and
Yeah.
and that's exactly what happened because largely it was actually a replicated game in the way that we had the territory the same
Yes.
as the Eden Park game, slightly
Yeah.
higher though, slightly higher, but at the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time we're now converting it into points. There
Yeah.
was So it just takes you back to Eden Park and what you're saying. If we had just had some kind of enterprise in the backline, so it makes you look at
Yes.
that backline like they're even more stale than what we thought they were.
Thank you. And that's the thing. And again, it's not saying that the guys are bad players. No, no, no. It's just saying that,
Yeah,
sometimes sometimes you don't need a hammer. You sometimes you need a pair of pliers or a
yeah,
different tool, to achieve a certain result. And I think that's one of the learnings that we've seen. And one of the things that I think this past weekend's game showed us is that, the guys are very much capable. However, we don't want it to always be when the backs are against the wall, when there's questions
yeah.
being asked. I think the main
Or
thing
when you're
that,
forced to make
and
changes.
look, we do understand, yeah, yeah, yes, and I think that also the other thing is that, like, as much as we understand, that it's the project, the dynasty project, we want, with that project, we expect the results, because
Yeah,
that's that's the standard that they've set, and that's why I said earlier is that the bar has been put back where it belongs, and that's the standard now because again, like in previous times, they've shown okay, and this is a level that they can hit. Now the key thing is about consistency, and I
yeah,
think that's where we're falling short. But we're starting to see where guys now are coming in and they delivering equal or even better performance than your tried and
yeah.
tested and
Now that's an
your
issue. Yeah. Yeah, that's an
mm,
issue for us
you
now where
see
it's gonna be like, do you break up a World Cup winning center combination in Dialanda and Creel? Do you move
yeah,
away from I know Curtly Arns is injured, but when you look at what Ethan Hooker did, do you move in that
yeah,
direction? We've now seen Damian Willemse, he played 12, but he also dropped and played 15. Is this the direction that
yeah,
you go in? I'm not necessarily saying that these like we should do it, but these are questions that are now being posed to say that okay, we've seen the other side.
mm,
We've seen the other
yes,
side now, and who who is really the guy holding that
yeah,
jersey when it's
yeah.
when the heat is on?
When the heat is on, yeah, no, for sure. And I look, good questions, tough questions. It's a good position to be in. But look, I'd hate to be in the Springbok coaching setup right now because that's the thing is that like now you're going to Argentina, who do you pick?
Yeah,
Argentina's coming here, and who do you pick? Because
yeah,
if you remember, Argentina did do a number on us in Durban. I think that was it
yeah.
2017, if I'm
Durban is
not
our
mistaken.
Wellington.
Yeah, you see, so it's also that as well, but a good headache to have because I still think yes, the veteran guys they still have plenty to offer, in their own way. But in terms of this attacking enterprise and being able to to use the ball the way that we did, and you can see that there's guys where they in terms of that longer term picture you can't see them fitting into that type of environment,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because yeah, it's just on the basis of the back end of this result, and I mean, if you're looking at it as a bigger picture, it was also still a tight game. Also in this game as well, what we saw is that early on, good start, fast start, and but we still saw the struggles of execution. Early on, up
Yeah,
until what I liked is that you know Sia See, I understood the assignment, that you're not gonna beat these guys by scoring threes, and he backed himself, backed the team, to go for the try, and they got that,
yeah,
and it was for me that was good to see, is that it was no fear in that sense, and
mm,
you could see the intent.
yeah,
What I
yes,
liked was the
exactly.
intent to say, do not,
Yes,
excuse my language, for sec, but we are coming to play here
yeah,
and we need to win, and
yeah.
yeah.
That's a big part of what I even wrote down, the attacking intent. That's a major mind change in this
Yeah.
game. But
Mm.
like you said, Sia, talking about Sia, let's start right from the beginning. Sia named as captain in this game,
Mm.
although he was not captain at Eden Park. Team named early on Monday. It's a bit, I mean, it's one of those things where people, oh, this guy's dropped. But it's a bit, they particularly did say he's been rested because they want longevity. They want the guy there. If he plays every game, he's going to burn out. Jasper Visser, my
Yeah.
eighth man,
We've been
you
saying.
know, yeah. Yeah, yes, Jasper Visser's
Mm.
back and strong forward pack. I'd say this is probably our best forward pack that we can name at the minute. Um, Probably the only one there I'd say is like Tutoy, but at the same time, I'll give it to Tutoy and
Yeah.
say I'll give it to him. I'll
Yes.
give it to him. But
Yeah.
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 Then we look at the backline. The backline, Reinach, Sacha. You've got Hooker on the wing, which we must note that Hooker only started really playing wing like during the URC because the Sharks have Esterhazen and Arm. So he's a center that's playing wing. And when he
Yeah.
started playing wing, he was actually terrible
Yeah.
defensively because he was trying to make center reads, thinking that there's two guys
So
on either.
reads.
There's a guy on either
Yeah.
side. So you've seen him make the adjustment to use the touchline more.
Yeah.
He comes in. You've got Willemse playing 12. He fills in at 12, but you don't really see him start at 12. You've got Moody starting at 13, new center combination. You've got Colby there and
Mm.
Fassi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said,
I,
fast start in the
look.
beginning.
Yeah, first start in the beginning, and for me, I actually quite liked Willemse at 12. I've always backed him at 12. I've always just liked something about him there at 12. And like I said last week, the variation, on attack, kicking from
Yeah,
12, the ability for him to control the game because he's played 10 before. And we saw that, yes, at that stage, he was also at 15, where he was coming into the line and he was also dictating play from 15, which brings a different sort of element to the attack, So I'm not. I'd like to see more of him at 12. To be honest,
yeah,
I'd like to see. Let me put it this way: I'd like to see more of this backline playing together.
yeah,
Um, Injuries aside, I would really like to see more of this backline playing together. Maybe Reinach, squad man, he'll fall out for a youngster, but he'll still be in the
yeah,
peripheral. Not but this is the backline that I would like to see. To see how they develop. I think strong enough. It's a physical enough backline. They can cut you apart if they need to. There's a good scramble there, and it's just, I think, well balanced in terms of the
yeah,
variation you can get, and we saw that from the start that the box got, there was a lot of intent, and I mean, geez, we really should have.
yeah,
I think we only saw the payoff at the back end of that test, but we really should have put those guys to the sword early on.
yeah.
They were just surviving.
Yeah, you talk about a fast start immediately. I think Sacha had a lot to do with that. The forwards had a lot of energy. Although, like you talk about
Mm.
execution, Sacha missing for touch, and then further disruption, Hood
Yeah,
goes off. Then you have that chance. Colby can't finish
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
chance, but that's a try most days of the week. It's just Barrett. I mean that's
Yeah,
great defensive work from him. But still, it's still points that we haven't scored. Then you get the
Should have been
points.
taken. Yeah.
You get the points with RG scoring the try there, but slight knock. Like you said, that the
Yeah.
attacking intent is there. That's two tries any other day of the week. But unfortunately, it's no tries from where we were at that position. And it could start to seem
Yeah.
like, is it going to be one of those days?
Yeah, it almost looked like it was, eh? When that was it,
Yeah,
I was just like, nah, man, come on. And then obviously, yes, okay, there were things that were missed in terms of hands in the ruck that are forcing the errors by the halfback, and 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 when you see that sort of those sort of things happening where we weren't necessarily controlling the ball properly at the breakdown, initially
yeah,
it was a bit worrying because it was just like, oh no, is this going to be more of the same, of what happened last week where things are just not going to happen for us. But look, credit to the guys, they stuck to the task, kept them out. It was tight, especially in the first half. It was unnecessarily tight, and I don't know. I think they probably got they did get a bit of a mouthful, maybe, at halftime to say, hey, listen, this it shouldn't be this
yeah,
tight, and it was almost. I think it was a thing of saying, if you guys don't wake up and take your chances, it's going to be Eden Park all over again. And yeah,
yeah,
what a second half, really,
yeah. But I
and
mean,
I think that was
sorry,
sorry
just to
that
say
I
that
think that was yeah.
it was, you see, the way that our defense is structured. Also, I think there was also
Mm,
a thing where what we do is we defend up until the second last man, and then the last man is just like whoever's covering, just make sure you get there to get that guy. And
yeah, yeah.
that's fine if you do it for like one phase. If you even stretch it to
Mm,
slow it down and do it two phases. Where the All Blacks scored, they just
mm,
went side to side to side to side, and we couldn't reset. And you saw them get that space. And
yes.
then you talk about moments, Colby stepping up, making the intercept, because we could have been 14 down at that stage.
Yeah,
So
it was.
you're talking
Yeah,
about
that could have been
moments and them
40.
talking at halftime. I think that was a big moment just for them to just say, like Kobe said, if you guys aren't gonna do it, then I might as well do it.
Let me just take care of this, and he did, and I think as well, it was also probably, for him, I kind of felt like he was, there was a bit of a chip on his shoulder because of the defensive error
Yeah,
from the previous week, and the fact that he wanted to really make up, and I thought he did, and I think overall there was a better adjustment defensively, in terms of being aware of what New Zealand were trying to do. Yes, they got, I think, the side to side, it really it wore them out in terms of the work rate, but we started to see the improvement in that as the game wore on, where
yeah,
the guys were scrambling and, Grant saving those two tries, especially that tackle on Will Jordan, where you saw there was a better scramble on defense. So as much as, yes, I've been saying that we no longer have the best defense in the world, but at the same time, I think we need to have that perspective that, yeah, it is going to take a while before it
yeah,
fully gels and becomes that top tier defense. So yeah, look, those things can be sort of can be understood, you
yeah,
know, but the only way that they can be understood is that if you get the result, because this is a results business, and then all we want is a win,
yeah,
and for me, like we said, before the tour started, for me, I felt like this two-match series was going to be defining for this group's sort of legacy,
yeah. It
as
is.
well, and
Yeah,
I think after Wellington, Eden Park aside, like I say, Eden Park is definitely a missed opportunity. But after Wellington, I think the dynasty is truly well on track. And it's actually, the more you look at it and the more you rewatch it, you see that these guys sometimes are their own worst enemies.
yeah,
Because we've got all the tools, all the weapons, you've got everything to absolutely be more dominant than what New Zealand were. Right now it's our time. It's our purple patch. In the modern era of rugby. So yeah, man. Look, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to be happy about. But at the same time, like the coach said, they weren't. be arrogant about it and think that, yeah,
Yeah.
they're the best thing since sliced bread, because it's Test rugby and anything can happen and you can be humbled very quickly, So yeah, it's a fine line, it's a fine line, it's a balancing act, and I felt there was a lot of good balance in the way that they approached the game on Saturday. There was a very
Yeah.
good balance from my view, and it was complemented by it was the things that made this group the as successful that they were. We saw the kick chase, toughness
Yes,
on
yes.
defense, the working hard, chasing lost causes, and then as well now is that element where you saw that blend of, pure blend of the power mixed with the precision, as the
Yeah.
game went on. So you have to appreciate that, and like I say, a lot of good things to like, but at the same time, we need to stay humble. Don't fall into the trap of thinking, yeah,
Yeah.
look, we're invincible, because we're not, and then we've seen such.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's kind of like two aspects of it. The personal
Mm-hmm.
side of it, where guys have to deal with things changing around them. You've got Fassi going off, you've got Reinach even going off in that first
Yeah.
half, and the guys continue, you know, mentally to make the shifts. You've
Yeah.
got a different guy in front of you. This was not part of the plan, but they're still able to do it tactically. Like you said, the kick chase, that was a big part of the game. The
Mm.
Ethan Hooker was getting the best of Leroy Carter, even when
Yeah.
other guys were sort of under the high ball. He was competing. The restarts tactically, having Jasper Visser there, it made our restarts so much better.
Yes.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
for me, even
Yeah.
the All Blacks, I'm thinking, why do you keep on kicking to him with restarts
Kiki.
when you can see that he's just taking it up? We're getting a box kick,
Yes.
then we're moving up the field. The first,
Yeah.
I think at 39 minutes, we had 70% territory. So it just shows that
Yeah.
we're moving up the field efficiently. What happens is
Yes.
we box kick, we compete well. If it's not Hooker, it's Moody. If
Yeah.
if it on the other side, Colby also in the air. So
Yeah.
and besides that, they like to throw a lock there and get a hand back. So what's happening is
Yeah.
box kick, we're moving up the field, we're regathering, and then there's that balance of play to say, okay, now we've kicked, now we can run. We're not just running
Yeah.
from the 22. We found that
Yeah.
balance
Yeah.
in between, okay, kick, run to get that territory. So tactically, I thought
Yeah.
it was great in that way. Um, yeah, just other moments in the game. You talk about the set piece. Everybody, I think, was scratching their head after 1 minute into the second half. They changed the front row, but they bring in Volkolo, they bring in
Yeah.
Vessels, and you saw that scrum where broke off. Sia had that thing,
Yeah.
Esterhazen to Colby. Again, you look at that try, the scrum basically took out the whole pack. That's why Sia
Yeah.
had all that space to run
Free
in.
reign. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And you'd when I saw those changes, I thought, okay, maybe it's a bit early, but again, master stroke, and I think as well, you have to understand because it looked like Ox was limping a bit. So maybe,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of efficiency, in terms of output, it wasn't going to be quite there. But geez, the guys that came on, look, a lot of the guys, they really did put their hands up, this weekend, and for that, like I say, that starts with the second half, that bridge pass from Estes, and it's those are the things that you can see that the guys that was identifying. If you rewatch that, that was pure. That wasn't like structure, to
yeah,
say, yeah, no, this is what's going to happen, whatever. It's dominance, yes, at scrum time. But then once we got there, once that breakdown there in the 22 and Andre stays in with that pass, that's pure vision and playing what's in front of him, And
yeah,
the captain even said afterwards, no, we told the guys, play to your strengths, play, just play, and the guys played to their strengths within the system, and and they got the results, they got the payoff,
yeah,
So wow, I keep saying it's wow because it's all of the tries are well constructed. You can't say that, oh no, it was okay. Yes, New Zealand would have made defensive errors, but what I mean is that you can't say it was no, they made a mistake and this that, and they
Yeah,
just capitalized. They were lucky. There was, I don't think it was that. It was, the uh what you call it, the engineering or the creating of those opportunities, and then the execution. And what I liked is that how it got better as the game went on, because from an execution point of view, first off, if we're being honest, from an execution point of view, very poor, because
yeah,
you kept the game tight, although we had that 70% territory, and second off, it was just, that's what you want to see. One of the best halves of rugby that you'll see by the Springboks in a very, very, very long time. I don't think anybody can remember the last time we saw the Boks play like this. Maybe outside
yeah.
of that game against England in 2007, where it was the Fluidity pre-show where they were absolutely outclassed. But I just can't remember another Springbok performance like that, in that second half.
Yeah. Some other things just in that game, while it was 10-17, the All Blacks did have two good chances. And they won one, they had a lineup in
Mm,
the 22, just messed it up. And I can't really remember the other
yeah.
one, but it just shows that we also kept them limited to very few chances, although we had a lot of chances, but some of
Yeah.
them we just drop passes, whatever. We're making so many opportunities to score, and then besides that,
Yes.
have to mention guys like Vessels who moved from hooker to loose head. Another one where it's a bit of a selection that you're scratching your head at. He filled in well there.
But yeah.
Nokia that has typically been light around the park. I saw him make some good carries, some good cleans. So you must
Yes.
also
Yes.
say, although they're blue bulls, we must, although they're no
Yeah.
bulls
Look.
we must say that okay, no, those
No.
guys they had good performances there. Also, two things I want to ask you. I want to ask you, Libok,
Yeah.
they're booing him kicking. I've got no problem with that. I mean, the only place I know where they keep quiet for the kicker is at Thomond Park when Munster are playing.
Yeah.
If I'm in the stands, I'm
Yeah.
gonna boo if someone is kicking. So I don't know what the fuss is about
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
booing Libok. The second thing, Tupo Vai and his antics. Personally, I love it. I love the clapping in after the knock-ons. I love the Sacha was trying to
Yeah.
reload. He pulled Sacha. Uh,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
were many
Yeah.
moments. There were many moments where that guy was doing things like I could make a whole highlight reel of him doing it. Obviously, the shoulder charge that was foul play, but for me, everything else
Yes.
I love that, and I feel like it's part of the game. I know Bongi coined
Yeah.
the term plastic energy, but to me,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that loves to see this kind of thing, and I think it adds to the game. Getting under people's skin and winding
It,
them up.
yeah, I think it does, because at the same time, we must understand it's also a psychological game, you know. It's also a psychological game. I think what you see is that we saw it last week, the previous week at Eden Park, where Vai was just, he was the embodiment of an English player. Like I said, I thought it was Itoje, and it's because it's because the Springboks are such a the Springboks are that team, and
Yeah,
guys are thinking, by any means necessary, I have to by an inch, by
yeah,
the 1%. If I can just put this guy off his game 1%, if I can, because it's that thing of of old, where the South African temperament, if you get under their skin and whatnot, somebody's going to do something that will result in a yellow or a red card that will change the game. And where we've seen that happen in the past. So
yeah,
I'm not, and I hear you, Coders. I agree with you personally. Look, there's never really so much in that, because it all depends on what kind of a player you are, or
yeah,
what. But I don't have a problem with that. I think if he's gonna do, if you here's the thing about shithousery, you have to back it up at the end of the
yeah,
day. You have to back up the shithousery that you're going to do. And sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't.
yeah.
And that's what it is. So look, yes, it's irritating to some, but look,
But
I
then
think
that
for
just shows
me,
how effective it is. That it's getting under the
exactly.
supporters' skin. that just
exactly.
shows how effective it is. So then
Yeah,
that's why for me I feel also you must understand that this thing is as much as it's sport, it's also entertainment. There's villains,
it
there's
is.
heroes, there's all
Yes,
kinds of
you see,
things. So I think we should also
it
be
is.
open-minded into
Mm,
having a game
mm,
like this. It was a point.
yeah,
Look, we're talking about it now. It's a point that you can talk
yes,
about and debate. So to say no, stamp that out, take that out the game.
yes.
You can say that about
Nah,
the tackle, but I mean that's an in-play incident. That's not really the other
yes,
stuff.
yeah. The thing is that what should we should be saying, it must go out the game is the inconsistency of the application of the law. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Instead of looking at who's clapping after knock on or whatever, it's just saying, yeah, you're knocking on, we in your face, we're here today,
mm,
not today. You know what I mean? This time it was Sia's house at Adi's house. You know what I mean? It
mm,
was that's what it was this weekend. I wasn't gonna be that guy to say, yeah, no, now it's my house, But I was thinking that I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people that were thinking that to say, you know, and that's life and that's sport,
yeah,
Money, the booing, like, like, yes, they're booing, but you put the nail in the coffin at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Just say, I know it's
yeah,
fine. Let me hear you. Boom. Give me some more. Boom. And at the end of the day, we got the result. And you must remember, the supporters, we also part of it to try and influence or get into the
yeah,
opposition. I mean, we've been at Ellis Park at a Springbok test when the All Blacks come out. We booing, we booing the
yeah,
opposition and stuff. So nobody's got the moral high ground here on that, on spectator behavior or the shithousery. Nobody's got the high ground. We mustn't act like we are saints here, you know what I mean? Because we've all had, we've all had our moments. We've all had our
yeah,
moments where we've been those guys. So come on. I think it's okay,
yeah,
man. I think it's okay as long as the game is played in the right spirit, and you playing the game, because at the end of the day it's about playing the game. So if you
yeah.
can play the game and you still manage to do that shit, so yeah.
Yeah, just moving on, other things in the game. Like I said, Nokia, his steal was vital there for the Willemse try.
Very,
Willemse catching
very,
the ball behind him. That's a will play. There's skill and then there's will. That's a will play where
yeah,
he
yeah,
decided he
yeah,
was gonna take that game by the scruff of the neck. And I mean, it was a very big statement game for him at a time where he needed
yes,
one. He's had injuries, but he's also been. It's like is Fassi overtaken him for the 15 jersey? Now that Philly is phasing out, is it going to be Fassi's jersey? He's made
yeah,
a statement now. He's even made a statement for DLND's jersey. So I think it was a big.
yes,
Also for him, there's there's leaders like Eben, and there's leaders like Sia, and there's these guys that have moments in games. He's shown now that he can be one of those players in the absence of
yeah,
an Eben.
yeah,
Another
yeah.
big game, Mani Lubbock coming on early. I think he only missed one, if I'm not mistaken.
You missed one
And
kick,
I mean,
and then
for
he had
him,
one botched up and under kick.
besides that, you talk about the criticisms with him about he can't manage a game,
Game, match the game.
uh, so on, so forth. Things that they say about fly halves of color. But
Yeah,
I think we saw on the day the
yes.
man he put together the performance.
Yes, he did. He put together the performance away from home in New
Yeah,
Zealand. Uh, you know, there's no bigger test. There's no bigger test. You understand what I'm saying? And therefore, I think after this, if if there's any more of the moneyism, where there's the money
mm,
hateism and all of that, then we need to call it out for what it is. Is that, yeah, look, yes, everybody's got their own players that they like, but uh, it only happens with players of color, and especially number 10 jersey. We know number 10 jersey, because we can go back into the annals of history where even the Danny Craven said no black man will ever play or wear the Springbok jersey. Right now he's upside down in his grave. Since 2018, he's been, being the captain. No, it's those things, it's those undertones, those underlying things, those You know what I mean? We don't want to list that because we're not political,
Yeah.
a political podcast or whatnot. We're just stating the things that we see and we read and we hear, So, I mean, for now, I think he's earned his place. He's earned his
Yeah.
place because I'll still go back to say, without him, there's no semi-final against
Mm.
in 2023. There's no semi-final. We don't make it out the quarters, because he played against the French. You understand? People
Mm.
forget that. People always they say no, the Iceman was there, but before the Iceman came in, the
The
spade work
Iceman
was
was at
done.
home. He was at home. He didn't even get
The spade,
selected for the team.
the spade work was done. You understand what I'm saying? So we mustn't forget. And like, I just think we need to shut that down and just accept the fact that we've got three quality fly-offs,
Yeah.
in the team, and at any given stage, anybody can come in and do the job, and Mane can definitely come in and do the job, and he showed as much, on the
Yeah.
weekend. So yeah, man, like I think it's time that we shut that shit
Yeah.
down.
Uh,
It's really it is.
just other things in that game, even at the end there, when it was now loose play, broken play, that's when we got the final try. Even just showing when you want to make it loose, we can also go there. But for me, I would personally go basically the same team
Yeah,
down in Durban. Okay, you agree. Uh,
yeah.
Currie Cup, just
I
before we go, Currie Cup. Um, yeah, Lions URC players just too much
the
in
URC
terms.
job. No, it's the URC job. Ah, no, man. No, the URC job. Look, it was just too much, eh? It was too
Yeah,
much
it-
for Poland.
yeah, it
And
was just too much for Poland, especially the just experience, the physicality. They were getting the offloads, getting their hands through. Once they got behind the lines, it was just try, try, try. And yeah, I think
yeah,
the kick chase also of Poland was a bit lacking. The other game,
yeah,
it's the story that's been going on the whole season. Back three magic.
yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Look, and I'll tell you this, eh? People are saying the Lions is a given at home and whatnot.
Hmm.
Don't sleep on those Griquas, eh? Don't sleep on those Griquas because they can also bring that intensity as well. If they can get
Yeah.
it right. I think we're in for a hell of a game this weekend. And I'm sorry, Quarters. I'm sorry to do this to you, but you know what? You're gonna pay me my money. I'm going Griquas. I'm going Griquas, man.
You know what? I have no problem with that. I even myself as a Lions supporter, I have to say that the it does feel a bit hollow. The progression of
Yes.
the tournament, seeing with what's happened to Mzwake Mkosi, what's happened with them bringing in the players, but nonetheless, we're going to win the Currie Cup. Closing remarks.
Look, look, I loved seeing Caden Moody at 13. I think also another game, a coming of age game for him there at 13. Hooker, we saw Willemse, yes. I think with the pack we sorted. We just need to consistency. The blueprint is there. It can work. Argentina are dangerous. We'll talk more about it next week. But for this weekend's Currie Cup, I'm saying it's going to the Griqualand. Griqualand. Let's go, Griqualand.
The only thing that's going back to Kimberley is their bus. Dummy Switch Pod. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening.